Hey there everybody, and welcome back to more Silent Hill 2. I'm still Niggerot. So we are saying goodbye to the prison, finally. And, you know, what other better way to make our way across the lake than with some high-action rowing. That's right, for some inexplicable reason, the developers decided to put in a rowboat section for what easily could have just been a cutscene. So what we are going to want to do is to get to that light on the far distance. That's actually the Lakeview Hotel, where James and Mary spent their vacation in Silent Hill 3 years ago. The problem being that, well, for one thing, the lake is haunted and full of dead spirits, but they actually don't give us any kind of a problem. The problem being that the controls for the rowboat are kind of unwieldy, and they're actually even worse if you're playing on a harder difficulty, because the analog sticks are actually, well, if you've played Ape Escape, they're kind of set up like that, where, you know, your right control stick controls the right oar, and the left controls the left. And if you can believe it, the speed that you keep the rowboat at is one of the factors in your in-game ranking. So, hopefully you're good at rowboats, I guess. And with all that fantastic rowing out of the way, it's now time to head into the hotel proper. And since we actually have still quite a bit of shotgun ammunition, and due to some enemies we're going to be running into, the shotgun is going to be our weapon of choice in this particular place. And it's, well, adequately creepy to say the least. Before we head in, though, we need to check at this this fountain over here to get a Little Mermaid music box. This is actually going to be one of 3 music boxes that we are going to need for basically the main puzzle for the hotel overall. And as always, whenever we get into a new area, there is a map pretty much immediately available. Except this map is a mild bit different than some of the other maps that we've gotten. First off, there is a message already written on it. Seems that somebody is waiting for us in the room that James and Mary stayed in whenever they had previously stayed here before. It's actually up on the 3rd floor, but, you know, just through a normal progression, we are going to actually start at the basement and work our way up. The basement itself actually isn't too large to deal with as of right now. And as always, the place is pretty much completely empty. But we will be seeing quite a few paintings of mountains throughout the hotel. Apparently there is a very large mountain range near Silent Hill, but we never really interact with that. And this right here is Venus Tears, which is the bar in the basement. But that can of paint thinner was actually all that we needed to get down the basement, so it's up to the much larger 1st floor to explore. Another odd little painting here. Seemed like there was a small portrait down the lower left-hand corner. Not really sure what that was supposed to be. But it appears that there is a note waiting for James in the lobby, reminding him of a videotape that he left in his suite whenever he and Mary stayed here 3 years ago. You may also remember that Maria made mention of it while she was in the jail cell in the labyrinth. As to how she might have known about that, we're still not really sure at this particular point. But we can go see if we can get into the office to see if we can get that videotape. But as one can expect, it can't clearly be that easy. So we're going to have to find some alternate means of getting into the back office. But another thing that we do want to check out while we're here in the lobby is this rather large music box. The seat of the princess who awoke from death. Well, we are going to be getting that music box a little bit later. For right now, we only have one of the 3 that we need. And we are getting a very discordant tune, so that hopefully will be fixed once we actually get all 3 music boxes. But yeah, let's check out the restaurant Lakeshore. Through this small maze of chairs and tables, we notice a key laying on a plate, and it's a fish key. Not that the actual, key is in the shape of a fish, but it has a little keychain on it with the fish. And the paint thinner.
Did I scare you?
Yeah, you did.
You're here to find Mary, aren't you, James? Well, have you?
No. Is that why you're here too?
She's here, isn't she? If you know where she is, tell me. I'm tired of walking.
I wish I knew.
But she said it in her letter.
What letter?
Wanna read it? But don't tell Rachel, okay?
Who's Rachel?
She was our nurse. I took it from her locker.
So we meet up with Laura yet again, and she finally decides not to lock us in a room with a horrible monster or be a little brat to us. And she actually hands us a letter that Mary had written for her back in the hospital. Apparently, though, the nurse never actually gave this letter to Laura, and she had to steal it and run away to Silent Hill to try to find Mary. Obviously, if this is going by too quickly for you, just pause at your own volition, but it's summing up the fact that Mary wanted Laura to kind of be her adopted daughter, and that she really appreciated the time they spent together, and basically just trying to give some motherly wisdom to Laura. Also, she wants to say that even though James may seem kind of a gloomy Gus, he's actually a rather sweet person, even though he may not seem like it. In the end, though, the mentioning of a quiet place could also less mean Silent Hill and just more mean death.
Laura, how old are you?
I turned 8 last week.
So, Mary couldn't have died 3 years ago. Could she really be here? Is this the quiet, beautiful place she was talking about?
Me and Mary talked a lot about Silent Hill. She even showed me all her pictures. She really wanted to come back. That's why I'm here. Maybe you'll get it if you see the other letter. The one Mary... Huh? I must have dropped it.
Laura!
I gotta find it.
Laura!
So Laura runs off yet again to find another letter from Mary. I do find it a bit weird that somehow Mary was still able to write a noticeable letter to Laura, even after James had supposedly known very well that she was dead. Part of me wants to assume that, maybe Laura had never actually met or talked to Mary, that instead Mary's ghost could have been haunting the hospital. It's a rather confusing piece of the story to me, to say the least. And there's a kitty cat. I don't know why it's so confusing to James. It's clearly a cat. But we should probably go after Laura to make sure she's okay, even though realistically she hasn't been in danger this entire game. But after having talked to Laura, abstract daddies now start to spawn out in the hallways. Thankfully, these are a lot more easier to deal with than the boss we had faced in the labyrinth. Not to say they aren't any less dangerous and that they shouldn't be taken care of from a great distance. They still have very long range, but 2 shotgun shells and they'll go down for a nice kick in the face. It does have to make you wonder, though. It was originally assumed from the labyrinth that the abstract daddy was only in connection with Angela. And since we haven't actually seen